Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Command Point. My name's Ryan. Today I am here with the disembodied voice of Shane. How's it going, Shane?
Oh, it's great. I'm just a voice, apparently. So
So, today we're going to be talking about the eight most powerful fire teams in Kill Team. But yeah, so we've been playing a few games in the new edition, both in real life, over tabletop simulators. So, here are the eight fire teams that stick out to us the most. Shane, do you want to just kick us off here?
sure. I'm gonna kick us off with a fire team that is. I know you said this isn't really indicative of the whole kill team, but this fire team is the kill team, and that's with Harlequins, the troop kill team, I believe it's called.
Yeah.
These guys look really strong. And note that this is all we've both played quite a few games at this point, but we haven't played every faction. So a lot of this is going off of just looking at the data sheets and the fire teams and what they have available to them. But Harlequins look pretty crazy. They get 8 models right out the gate, which is pretty good for Harlequins, honestly. 8 wounds isn't amazing. I would say it's the one kind of downside to the team that is that they are kind of they die quite a bit easily, just like an old kill team. But they do still have their 4-up invuln, and
Mm,
that's going to be super valuable for them. But
yeah.
what really gets to me is, I mean, just look at these weapons. The embrace really sticks out to me. The 4 or 5 damage with brutal, that's really good. The caress, although it hits on fours, a lot of damage. The kiss with crazy crit damage, and they fly. But the biggest thing to me is that APL 3. I think it's going to be a big deal for this team. Just moving around the board, capping objectives, doing actions, stuff like that. And then, of course, the fire team itself comes with, I think it's two. Yeah, it's 2-player gunners. Basically, they get either a fusion pistol or a neuro disruptor. To me, the neuro disruptor looks amazing, although I can see the fusion pistol being pretty good too, just because of all the movement that they get, being able to shoot, dash, and or dash, move, and shoot with a 3 APL, and they can fly, so their opportunities kind of open up that way. And the gunners too. I mean, they get this cool pistol, and they can still take a caress or an embrace or a kiss or anything like that. I mean, yeah. And then obviously there's the leader who hits on twos. Just seems like a really strong team overall. What do you think?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the thing that sticks out to me about this fire team the most is that each one of these models, all eight of them, have that 3 APL. You know, having that many bodies with that many activations is pretty crazy. And all of their
Yeah.
weapons, like you can kit all of them out with good weapons. Or one of the fire teams that sticks out to me is the Deathwatch fire team. Reason for that is you can take five Deathwatch veterans in a single fire team, which makes up your whole kill team, just like most of the Space Marine fire teams. But this one, you can actually pick and choose what weapons you want to take, and they're all like drastically different from each other. Just like going through like this fire team that I had cooked up last night, or kill team, I should say. I've got a Watch Sergeant with the Storm Shield and the Xenophase Blade, the heavy gunner with the frag cannon and a purity seal, gunner with combi melta and purity seal, fighter with storm shield and power weapon. These guys are all over the place with the customization that you can bring with them. So you can trick all of them out to have good weapons. Even their baseline Deathwatch Bolter with all of these special issue ammunition, it's all good. There's not really a bad weapon that you can take on this kill team, which compared to the other Space Marine kill teams, it's pretty obvious to me that these guys are the way to go.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, to me, the other Marine fire teams, they don't even compare to Deathwatch. From just looking at it, every model on the Deathwatch fire team is really, really strong. Like about as strong as like the gunner and the leader for any other Marine fire team. So, I mean, that just sticks out to me as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, most of these Marine fire teams, barring the tactical Marines and the scouts, really, they pretty much just have like 3, 4 bolt guns at the end of the day. And I don't want if I'm playing Space Marines, I'm not gonna want to take 3, 4 bolt guns on every single one of my guys and like one guy with a melee weapon. It's just they're just terrible compared to Deathwatch. I've heard a lot of
Yeah.
people say a lot of things about Reavers. I don't have any experience with Reavers. I'm not buying it. These guys look ridiculous. Reavers can't take frag cannons and combi meltas and power weapons and storm shields.
Yeah, from what I've heard, the Reaver stuff is mostly just the movement, and I'm not even sure how much it stacks up to just the power of what we're seeing on Deathwatch.
Yeah. So, what fire team do you have for us next?
So this one I had to think really hard about because I've been playing a lot of demons, as you know,
Oh yeah.
and I mean all four of the demon fire teams are amazing, but I had to narrow it down to one. And for me, that was the Bloodletter fire team. I mean, honestly, these guys are crazy. First of all, you get 6 of them in a fire team, which you would expect because in the past demons, I mean, you look at them and Bloodletters, they're horde type units. But for starters, I mean, they hit so hard. They are exclusively melee unless you kit them out with certain equipment. Their damage 4-6. They hit on threes with 4 attacks. They have lethal 5. That's insane, first of all, just on a basic chaff model. Lethal 5, 4-6 damage, just crazy. And they have the 5-up invuln that demons get. The craziest thing to me, though, is almost for like no reason, Bloodletters have 9 wounds, which, I mean, comparing it to all the other demons with 8 wounds, it doesn't sound like a huge upgrade. But when you're playing this game, you're going to slowly realize that you need to look at wounds in terms of almost like brackets. You
Yeah.
have a lot of weapons that are doing 4-5 damage or 3-4. Um, when a model has 9 wounds, a 3-4 weapon needs at best still 3 damage, I guess, dice to go through in order to kill it. And a model with 4-5 needs to get at least 1 crit through to kill it. That right there says a lot about how strong Bloodletters are. You can kit them out with the brass horns to give them a free reroll, and the corn specific ploy, I think it's called Unstoppable Ferocity, is it's just really strong. You add 1 to the attacks characteristic of corn models for the turning point. That basically, I mean, 5 attacks, hitting on threes, 4-6 damage, lethal 5. Most of those guys are getting a hit reroll just because. Yeah, these guys are crazy. I mean, I look at a lot of other fire teams that have models that do this kind of damage, and they always have 8 wounds, or they don't have an invuln, or something else. Like they
Yeah.
might have this similar damage output, but Bloodletters just seem slightly better to me across the board.
Yeah. I mean, I've been on the receiving end of just like their raw strength in melee, and there's few models that I've seen that can like really reach it, and in the numbers that you can take them, they're very good. Oh my God, I'm
Right.
I'm just thinking about like if I'm playing Space Marines and I'm trying to face down like 12 of
Yeah,
those, you take 2. I mean, like even if
it's
it's not
probably
the
good.
yeah, even if it's not the optimal thing to do, it's just like what do you do? It's just like threat overload everywhere you look. So moving on to what I think are the superior Astartes in this edition of Kill Team, the Chaos Space Marine Fire Team. The Chaos Space Marine Fire Team, you can only take up to 3, but the plus side to that is that you can take 2 Chaos Space Marine Fire Teams for a total of 6 Chaos Space Marines, or you can sub those out for like 8 cultists. Just like the Death Watch, well not just like, but similar to it, you're gonna have a gunner. Whether it be some kind of gunner carrying a melta-gun, plasma gun, like a special weapon, or a gunner carrying like a heavy bolter, or I think they can take like missile launchers too. The heavy gunner with the heavy bolter, if you give them like the suspensor system, I think it's called, for 3 equipment points, makes it a very mobile, very potent, just ranged weapon. You set him up on top of a vantage point, and he can just rain hell down on anything. The aspiring champion, typically you're going to be kitting this guy out with a plasma pistol and I think power weapon. Power weapons, I think, are the way to go. If you can take any sort of melee weapon, just because of that lethal 5, it's great for when you're attacking and when you're defending in close combat. These guys, I like them better than like a regular attack marine because they can either go chainsword and bolt pistol, which the chainsword is a 4-5 weapon, which is awesome, or you can give them a bolt gun and their fists. So they
Mhm.
have a lot more flexibility than like your standard tactical marines. Their tactics are good. They get malicious volleys, I think, so they can shoot twice if you don't fight. And then they have another tactic where they can fight twice instead of shoot. So you take a good mix of chainsword carrying guys and a heavy bolter and maybe some more ranged weapon guys, you got a pretty flexible team on your hands.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say it's kind of like what we were saying with Deathwatch, how it's a lot better than a lot of these Astartes fire teams, just because of the options they have, both in terms of equipment, how you can buff the normal guys, and in terms of the amount of threats you can take. But I mean, the crazy thing is, not only are they better than a lot of those Marine fire teams, but if you have two cast Space Marine fire teams, you get six of them instead of the five that just like attack marine or intercessor team would get. And I mean, that's pretty crazy. And then you slap like, I believe it's called like a belt feed on a couple bolters. The belt feed or the malefic rounds, both really good to buff your bolter guys.
Mhm.
And that aspiring champ can take either a grizzly trophy or a sacrificial dagger. Both really strong options for that model.
So moving on to your third fire team that you've brought to the table, Shane.
I had a little bit of trouble at first wrapping my head around this one, but I ended up looking a lot at the Secarion fire team that the Forge
Hmm.
Worlds can take. So instead of it just being Secarion infiltrators or Secarion rust stalkers, you can mix and match both types in the one fire team here. For those of you that
Wow.
aren't familiar, the Secarion infiltrators, those are the ones that have the stub carbine and power sword. And the rust stalkers are the ones that they're basically just pure dedicated melee models. For me, what sticks out the most is the infiltrator dial, just because I mean their stub carbine, despite the fact that it was a pistol in the old edition, it's an infinite range gun here with ceaseless. So four shots, hitting on threes, bolter damage, but it's got re-rolling ones, which is pretty fantastic.
Yeah,
And these guys just get a power weapon, which is I mean 4-6, lethal 5. That's really good.
that's really good.
They have 10 wounds on top of it, so they're really
Oh,
flexible, really survivable as well. Um, and then you look at the Rust Stalkers, and they're only melee, but man, the damage these guys can put out is just crazy. 5 attacks, whether they're taking the Cord Claw or the Transonic Blades. They hit on threes. The Cord Claw, I mean, it's damage 4-5, and they get a reroll with the balanced ability. But the Transonic Blades have 4-6 damage, and they get the Rending ability. I mean, these models just seem like crazy strong to me, and the fact that you can mix and match in the fire team and even kind of like we were talking about the Chaos Marines, you can double up on these guys if you don't want to take any Scutari and just run 8 Secarion models.
oh my
And I feel like
God.
that would be a pretty strong kill team.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. They're just
Really survivable. They hit so hard and they're flexible. So what more could you want?
yeah, definitely a solid fire team. So, moving on to, there are some teams in this game that are just simply better. And one of those, of course, is going to be the Orc Commandos out of the starter box. These guys are crazy for a couple reasons. First and foremost, you can take up to 10 commandos in your, I'm just going to say kill team because it
Yeah.
doesn't really break it down into fire teams for this faction. It's just kill team. You can take 10 models. They have a ton of different specialists that do a ton of different things. I don't think there's ever going to be a reason for you to want to take just the standard orc commando. I think that like just building all the specialists is the way to go because of all their different abilities that they get. Their throat slitters rule, I think, that's what it's called, allowing them to perform a charge action even when they're concealed. Gives
Hmm.
them this fantastic ability where you can move up the board in concealment and just immediately get stuck in combat. And that's so powerful in that you can pretty reliably not if not like shut down your opponent's shooting, at least minimize the shooting threat while you close the distance. And once they get in, these guys crump, man. A lot of them have got awesome melee weapons. They're just awesome models by themselves.
I mean, you can look at each of these models. I mean, the Sniper Boy,
Mm.
the Breacher Boy, the Slasher Boy, the Daka Boy, all of them on their own. I mean, they're good models, but the fact that when you compare it to Greenskins, what they're competing with is just like an Orc Boy or a basic Commando or, at best like a Luda or a Burna. I mean, these guys, just the data sheets and the weapons they have alone, a lot of the time are better. And then all these models individually have their own special abilities and actions that they can do. And it's just so unquestionably better than what you're allowed to take with greenskins right now. I mean, it's crazy. And I mean, yeah, you can look at like the Commando Burna or like the Commando Comms, and it's like they're kind of like utility models that just do special things. Like the Burna guy has his little flamer, but it's like, I mean, you can with the equipment, you can fix those weaknesses and give them choppas, and now they're flex models, right? I mean, they just get so much in terms of the models they can take.
When you compare them to the other factions, I mean, it's obviously like it's codex creep, right? Because all the
Yeah,
other
day
factions,
one.
yeah, all the other factions are just kind of playing index kill team with the rules with the rules in the compendium, the commandos, and then one other team that spoiler alert we're going to be getting into in a few minutes are just simply better. All right, so what's your last fire team
So the last fire team I want to talk about before we get into that other compendium faction
or
is
non-compendium faction?
the other non-compendium faction is the Genestealer fire team from the Tyranids. So the Genestealer fire team, you can take 5 Genestealer fighters, obviously, and a Genestealer leader if you want to make one your leader. You can take 2 of them and run a kill team of just 10 Genestealers, which I've seen. They're crazy. So you can give them either Rending Claws and Scything Talons, or you can give them double Rending Claws. So the Rending Claws and Scything Talons, it's just 2 different options for your melee attacks. Like you can use either weapon, presumably.
Mm.
But the double Rending Claws, these things, I mean, it's 5 attacks, which is right off the bat more than most melee models are going to get. They hit on threes, damage 4/5, which is really good. They have Relentless, which means they're rerolling all failed hit rolls. They have
Oh,
Rending, which means they can turn if they crit once with just any one of their 5 attacks. So they just got to get 1/6, and they're rerolling all of them. Keep in mind. So you need 1/6 on 5 attacks, rerolling ones and twos. If they get 1 crit, they can turn a basic hit into a second crit. And if you give these guys toxin sacks, each time they fight in combat, if they get any crits, they can turn a fail into a normal. So on the very low chance, not very low, but on the relatively low chance that you actually do miss with these guys just one time, you can then turn one of those, that one fail, because you're not going to get more than one realistically. You could turn that one fail into another hit. And my goodness, I mean, these guys with 10 of them, they are insane when it comes to melee combat. I mean, they only have, I believe, 8 no, they have 9 wounds, which, like I said, with the Bloodletters, is a really good bracket to be at. It's much better than 8 wounds, despite the fact that it's only 1 more. They have the Hidden Horror ability. While it's concealed, it's always treated as being concealed, regardless of, like, vantage points and any other stuff.
oh my God, I
Uh,
didn't even know
yeah,
that.
yeah, they get a 5-up invulnerable save,
Yeah,
and
they
they
just
get a
have a 5 up invulnerable save.
yeah,
Okay.
and they get a free dash always.
Yep.
Whenever it's activated, they can just dash for free. I mean, this is just crazy. The amount of damage they can put out, the like sneaky survivability in there with the 9 wounds, with the 5-up invuln, with the hidden horror ability. And I mean, if you really wanted to get like tricky with it, you can give them acid maws instead of the toxin sacks. And the acid maw, it's actually a flamer in this edition. 6-inch range. It's got the splash 1 rule instead of torrent. But what's crazy about it is that it's damage 3/3. I mean, it's only 4 attacks instead of the 6. It still hits on twos, but damage 3/3, that's more than we've seen from any flamer,
Yeah,
really.
so
I think it's all
for
like
for
2/2 or
for
2/3.
some equipment points, you can just give any of them probably the best flamer in the game.
Yeah, maybe. It might be up there. And I mean, these guys are really, really strong.
Yeah.
You can give them lurk,
Oh
the
God.
that strategic ploy, so they get an extra dice for their cover saves, basically. Um,
Oh,
outside, because
okay.
normally when you're in cover, you just get
You get a free auto
you
save.
get you get a free auto save.
So
If you
they can
use
get
lurk,
2.
they can get two out of their three just become
Wow.
saves. That's really good.
Okay. Yeah, this fire team in a word I would say is oppressive.
Yeah. Oh,
It's
and one more thing,
oh
with the
gosh.
feed
Wait, there's more.
with the feed strategic ploy. So the one downside to taking the double running clause is that your crit damage is only 5. With feed, which is a 1 CP strategic ploy, the first time a model crits in combat, you do an additional damage. So that 5 damage is a 6. So really, they kind of are 4/6, rerolling all failed hits, 5 attacks, hitting on threes. They have rending. They can turn a fail into a hit, It's absolutely bonkers how good they are in melee.
And you're never gonna get a good shot at them at
Yep.
ranged with all of their survivability because they're always, they're always gonna be in concealment until the one turn when they're gonna be charging you. And
Hmm.
with that free dash that they get, it happens so much faster.
Yep.
Yeah, truly oppressive. Truly oppressive. Um, I honestly feel like they're the best in the game. I will come out and just say that. Yeah, and I'm not going to
They're
explain
pretty good.
myself any further. Um,
They're pretty good.
yeah. All right, let's talk about the veteran guardsman fire team, or in this instance, kill team. Just like the commandos, you can take 10 bodies in your basic fire team slash kill team. Just like again with the commandos, they have so many different specialists, and each one of them is simply better than your basic veteran guardsman. So you're going to want to take all the specialists. The only instance that you would bring standard veteran guardsmen, I think, would be with their ancillary support ability. So with their ancillary support, they can either take airstrikes and artillery bombardments, guided missiles, or you can just bring 4 additional trooper veterans. So you can just field 14 bodies. They have a special ability, just like the Astra Militarum orders, except where Astra Militarum needs to pay a CP in order to issue one of those orders. They just get to do that for free. Simply better than Astra Militarum, this team is. What else do we got going on with them?
I mean, I think the fact that they get the ancillary support, that's just something that no other team has. Like
Yeah,
they just get an extra page of like, hey, like here's some cool rules, and like all the other teams just don't have anything like it.
yeah.
I mean, you already mentioned the 4 extra trooper veterans, but I mean, some of this stuff is really good. I mean, you can only use it. You could pick 2 out of the 4, and then you can only use it once per turn, once per game. So you're going to use 2 of these throughout the game. The artillery barrage, the marked airstrike, the strafing around the guided missile, they're all pretty interesting. If I'm not, unless I've missed something, the marked airstrike and the artillery barrage are the only attacks in the game right now that have the barrage keyword, which basically means like you don't get you only get cover from above. Like if you're in a building, you'll get cover, but like if you're normally in cover, just forget about it, like behind like a barricade or something.
All
And
right.
I mean,
Um,
that's really strong.
yeah, yeah, for sure. So for one turn, you basically turn a veteran guardsman's las gun into just a simply better weapon,
Yep.
um, which is really good. Yeah, that pretty much does it for the fire teams. But we do have some honorable mentions, Shane, if you want to get started with those.
Yeah, for sure. Some honorable mentions. I one I wanted to shout out was the Zangor fire team
Oh
for Thousand
yes,
Suns. I mean, they're it's kind of similar to the Genestealers, like how like the only reason I didn't include them is because they are very similar, but I think worse than Genestealers in like the same niche, if that makes sense.
yeah.
But I mean, they do have some crazy stuff. They have the relentless ability, so they're rerolling all their attacks. They only have 8 wounds, which is unfortunate. If they had 9, I mean, that would definitely be something to look at. They've got the 5 up in Balm. They do have an ability called a ploy called Inhuman Savagery. If they charged and if they get 2 or more successful hits, you can turn a fail into another hit. And with Relentless, they're re-rolling all their hits anyway. So like you're almost guaranteed to get 3 or 4 hits, like probably 4 consistently. So those are really strong, like horde type models. I mean, those just a like a regular Zangor can give like Space Marines trouble, and I'm pretty sure the Zangor kill team or fire team has 5 of them. Oh no, 6 of them. I'm sorry. So pretty crazy. Did you have an honorable mention as well?
Yeah, the honorable mention that I want to give, and probably the boogeyman in our Discord right now, has got to be the Custodes Guardian, or the Custodian Guard fire team. The only reason that it's not like in our like top 8 is because there's only 2 models in a fire team, but you can take 2 fire teams of 2, so 4 Custodes just wandering around the battlefield. I'm just gonna read the stats, and then that's basically it. 4 APL, 18 wounds, a 2-up save, 3 defense dice. Their weapons are either a Guardian Spear or a Sentinel Blade. They have this ability called Emperor's Chosen, where they just straight up ignore any or all modifiers to the operative's action point limit, and they're never affected by the stun critical hit rule. So in combat, these guys are just beasts. And then they can just take Storm Shields. So they just, on top of all that, can get a 4-up invulnerable save at no extra cost, really.
Yeah.
The only thing is you're going to be swapping out the Guardian Spear for the Sentinel Blade, but both of those weapons in melee are basically power weapons. 5 attacks hitting on 2s, 4/6 in the instance of a Sentinel Blade with lethal 5. So it's like these models are crazy. They're incredibly hard to kill. They're incredibly lethal in close combat. You have to like in order to get the amount of action points out of most models, you got to put 3 of them together just to match, or excuse me, just to exceed the Custodes action points. It's they're just wild models.
Yeah, and I mean they're so strong, and on top of that, you can pair them either with more Custodes, like a madman, or you can pair them with 5 Sisters of Silence, which those models themselves aren't slouches. And I mean, it's nice to have these 2 Custodes that are just like absolute monsters. They're basically like sergeant types,
Yeah,
but like better. And you have, 4 Sisters of Silence models that you can kit out really flexibly, and the leader for the Sisters of Silence, because I'd assume you'd make that the leader, so that way you get like a third crazy model. And it's just like I can see them being a real problem team, but I haven't seen them in action enough to really make like a strong statement on it. And I think, like you said, it's more the context of that custodian guard fire team in the faction rather than the fire
right.
team itself.
Yeah. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video of us breaking down our favorite fire teams in this new edition of Kill Team. Be on the lookout because we will definitely be coming out with more like faction-specific guides for all of the Kill Teams in this new edition. Yeah, thanks for watching, especially to our Patreon supporters. Thank you for supporting us. Thanks everybody for watching, and we hope to see you all again in the next one.